Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome back to Scotland. So unfortunately, you're not hearing the game audio today. And the reason for that is my NVIDIA card has updated, and for some reason, the recording software, which is part of NVIDIA package, um, put the mic volume to maximum. It was set at a certain level, which I've kind of sussed out, but it just reset it to 100. So if you actually listen to the video, the original, volume recording, it would blow your ears out. It just would be impossible. So I'm going to do my best to kind of talk you through what's going on. It's going to be a bit of a different episode, but I can't waste it because it's super, super exciting stuff happens, and I don't want you guys to miss it. So I'm going to do my best to kind of go over what happened. And it's going to be a little bit more chopped up than normal than I usually do. And so for those who don't like cut episodes, I know some of you have mentioned that you don't like that. I agree. But I don't think I can narrate the full hour episode again. But I'll do my best to give over everything interesting that's going on. So right now, I'm just kind of assessing England below. The king heals, he doesn't die. So it's up to us then to figure out a way to conquer England. So that's kind of where we're starting this episode off. Okay, so we had our Marshal go on improved commanders. We actually got ourselves a decent new knight pop, and at this point I'm looking at my knights, looking at my military, and where we're standing, and we're going to assess England now. So we're looking at their troops. They've got footmen, bowmen, onagers, which are all countered by my guys easily. We have a very well-rounded army. In retrospect now, I'm looking back at this after the fact, I probably should put in a little bit more onagers into it. And we're assessing, like, when's it time to go? I believe it's 320 prestige to go to actually attack England. I do have the money in the bank, the prestige in the bank, and I'm guessing this is just about the right time. I'm waiting for my soldier count to get a bit higher because I don't want to pay. I'm being too cheap to pay for additional allies to come join me, so I'm trying to solo this myself. And so that's kind of just waiting for now, just waiting to get a little bit more army build up. And so I'm just going through my troops, my vassals. I'm bestowing royal favor and stuff like that. As you can see here, exactly, I'm bestowing royal favor on these different vassals of mine to try and get everyone back on board. As you'll see later on in the episode, factions end up becoming a little bit overwhelming to the point where a little bit of excitement happens, but I don't want to spoil what's coming ahead. Okay, so our last point popped with scholarship. We're gonna switch, to wealth focus, as you can see here. I was deciding which one to go for. I wasn't really sure. I was thinking maybe military because I knew the war with England was coming, but I ended up going wealth focus, and the reason why is because we're so far behind in construction in Scotland. And they're so far ahead of us in England. The balance was just too great for me to overcome like that. So I wanted to really pump building my buildings. Now, I don't think we ended up building too much because the amount of gold needed for the upcoming massive amount of wars we get ourselves into, a little bit of a foreshadowing coming up. But the gold needed was huge. And I'm starting to notice, as you can see here, all of my family members that do have claims, it's starting to really get me nervous. And there's things that happen a little bit later on which kind of, explain why. But I'm starting to really assess all the different family members, the nephews and cousins that have claims on the Kingdom of Scotland. Okay, so after finally waiting long enough, it was time to go to war. Like, I'm looking at the election, and yes, we will take it. We're about the same age as the King of Scotland. I guess he's our cousin somehow. But anyways, I figured this is it. Now or never. We have the 320. I have a little bit extra prestige in the bank there, about 660, that I could call an ally if needed. And I decided that I am going to call in at least one ally just to keep the tide going in our favor. And it's a good thing I did. So there we go. War declared. And we're going to head south. So I'm thinking about who do I want to bring in. I don't want to spend the full 350 for like a major kingdom. I decide to go for, I believe, I don't remember, actually, I don't remember who I picked. Is it Spain? Okay, so I did pick Spain, and then Spain ends up being, like, distracted in the first 2 seconds of the war, so they don't even end up coming. So he raised all the men, and it's time to head south. So Yeah, he does come, but I believe he gets himself involved in another crazy war, and it ends up not working out. As you can see here, my very loyal wife is running around, maybe behind my back, so we have to check into that. We march south, and we start taking some castles right across the border. So we cross the river, and we start taking these northern castles here. End up splitting up. One goes one way, one goes another way, waiting for our first thing. And there you can see here, yeah, Spain gets called right away. They actually end up declaring war on these the Emirates there in Spain. Like after we declared war in the first place, I was so angry in the video. I was shouting, like, "Why would you do this? Right when I needed you to come to war. I spent 350 on you, and you backed out." Oh, they still end up coming, but they don't do too much. 100 lodges. Yeah, so we are constructing a little bit. We actually do a little bit of construction. Ali joins war. That's the war in Spain. So I'm like, what the hell? I'm like furious. They got in this like duchy war down here somehow in Spain. But anyways, we're all alone against England in the north, sieging out these castles, and we'll see how it goes from there. Okay, so I'm a bit nervous about Spain not joining, being busy and distracted back down in Spain with their own war. So I decided to bring in a new ally. Everyone else is 350. I can't afford it. The only person I can bring in is Luxembourg, which is a duchy, or he only has counties though, but he's got 4 counties. He's somewhere in the middle of the border of Germany and France. But yeah, it's not a fantastic situation. Yeah, so he joins, great, but I'm down minus 59. I get it back pretty quickly. It's not a huge concern, but I'm so upset about this. They end up winning that war down the road, but after spending 350, I was just kind of really pissed off about it. Well, Luxembourg ends up coming. It does help me fight. We're going to grab these castles in the north and a few surrounding, and then we're going to march south and try and find the English army, which is actually right there in Wales. All right, so we marched south after conquering, and this castle, you can see up there, the castles in the north. Luxembourg has joined us. They've sailed across. We're trying to find the English army, and there they go. They're running. They want no part of this. They end up skipping across half of England until we finally track them down and meet them for battle in the swamps of what is it? East Anglia there, right at the border of East Anglia, more or less. And they're waiting for us in the swamp. We meet them in battle, and glorious victory be ours. Our general is 27 versus their 20. We do counter all their troops. They do have some lights which counter our heavies and some archers, but overall we end up with a nice, easy, clean victory here. Ended up chasing down quite a bit of their troops out back into the swamp. Okay, so now when things start getting really interesting. So we're at the war with England. We're at the war because we're allies with Spain, as you can see in the bottom right. Now, we get called to war with Italy, and we get war declared on us by a Northman invasion of Iceland. I start to get a little bit nervous here, as you can imagine. I'm like, should I just decline this war with Italy? I don't want to lose the 750 fame, so we end up saying fine. I look at the numbers, and I figure, okay, they can take it on their own without me anyways. We're actually sieging out London at the moment. I believe they end up taking it back regardless, but I thought maybe I'd end up getting the somewhat valuable, and I do. I end up getting the Queen out of this siege of London, but it's still not enough to end the war. So I'm calling all the allies now defensively on the Northman invasion, but I do hear that I won the war, the siege, I should say. I got an artifact. I call a bunch of allies to help me defend against the Northmen. They all come, but I'm so busy with the war with England, and the allies just sit on me. There's no independence. Like, they don't go fight the Northmen. It ends up being a little bit of a disaster, which we shall see. So they're trying to take back the castles. I got London. I got the wife, the Queen of England. It's not enough to end the war, though. I got an artifact, and then now I'm marching back north to try and fight the armies again. Yeah, they all say yes to come to fight the Northmen, but it's a little bit for naught. Okay, so after taking massive amounts of attrition and beating the English army once again on the field near North Riding, we marched back to our territory to try and rebuild our troops a little bit. The army is marched again. The retreating army is marched against south. And you can see them, they're kind of hovering near London. They end up, I believe, taking it back. I wasn't able to get there in time. I marched back. All my allies are sitting here. Spain has actually finally won the war. As you can see, they've expanded into the Islamic territories there. They finally take to the sea and try and help me. They're actually my allies in the English war. They're also allies in the Northman invasion. Northmans have landed in Iceland. I'm just not able to do anything. I'm so hyper-focused on England, which is a bigger prize than preventing the loss of Iceland. Like I'm weighing my... Yeah, there's the Queen there. The Queen of England, actually, I kidnapped in London. So I'm weighing my options. Like, what are we going to do? Are we going to stick with the English war, which is a huge prize, or are we going to stop the Northmen from taking out Iceland? And I end up deciding, I'm going to tough it out in England. And I say to myself, if we do lose Iceland, it's acceptable losses for gaining England, right? Which I prefer we didn't, but I can always take Iceland back. It would be much, much harder to take England back if we lose this war. To get another chance to do this later on, it would be much more difficult. So I'm going to take this opportunity to continue fighting as my allies come from Spain. So as soon as they get there, Spain, as you can see, we're carpet sieging north of England. Spain gets themselves involved in a war in North Moravian, like in somewhere in Poland. So they just hightail it out of there. What can I say? It didn't work out with Spain. It was a waste of 350. They conquered one territory and they left. So I've switched to wealth. We've got golden obligations. At this point, I'm so worried about money because we were losing a ton of cash. I've actually got a little bit back in the bank now, roughly 350. I can ransom the queen, but I'm holding her for the moment. We're just, like I said, we're just carpet sieging England. Their English army is gone. It's just a matter of getting the cap we need to conquer for the war, because you're not going to get the ticking score without, in a campaign like this, you won't get the ticking war score without conquering the entire country, and England is just way too big. So we're going to get as much as we can. Their army is they're in Wales. I finally spot them. And the Northmen are just running wild in Iceland. I have no mindset to go get them right now. I'm just so focused, like I said before, on just conquering England. So the guys are, I see them now. I'm waiting for the siege to end. When the siege ends, we're going to march to Wales and we're going to grab that last 2,400 Englishmen and see if we can finally convince them to join our cause. Okay, so here's where things get really, really spicy. I decided to go siege back the castles in Wales to try and get the negative cap space done. But then all of a sudden, my nephew, the Duke of, is it Moray? Moray decides to do a faction and go to war with me for the Kingdom of Scotland. And I was at the beginning of the episode, I was looking at that and I had concerns. I'm like, should I try and kill that guy? Should I try and do something? I was like, you got to be freaking kidding me. So I call in all the allies again, because it's free as a defensive war to call all my allies in. So I did all that again. And now I have to fight the Northmen, England, and internal revolt. I'm like, what the hell is going on? I'm like, I need a new alliance. Here it goes. So I decided to go for the Carling, which is the biggest one. I don't even know what he had. I didn't even care. I just saw 2,000 men. I said, yes, take it. Great. With Pepin, he's a Carling. It's going to get prestige. It's going to get me men. Bring him into the war. Vermilion, whatever that is. Italy, everybody come in. I decide, you know what? At this point, I'm like a couple points away from winning England. Let me just siege out the last castle here. And I'm like, this should be enough. This should be all I need. See, all the allies, they're just sitting on me. They're not even in this war. They won't go attack the Northmen. And this was frustrating me to no end. But like, I needed to get this War of England done. Spain's finally landed back. They came back from Poland and they smashed the English army a couple of times. Whatever was left. It wasn't a bunch. It was like 800 men, stacks here and there, spread out. There's Pepin's coming now for the Northern War, but they won't go up without me. So here's the last castle. I'm looking at the time. I think I ended up just assaulting it because I could not possibly stand this anymore. This is a pop-up with the guy in the tavern with the map. We've had this one a couple of times. He ends up being a good knight, so I look at it. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to recruit this guy because he's a decent knight, and I need more knights. A lot of knights died in this war, so I'm just going to recruit a 16 knight. And there goes. Finally, one. And guys, guess what? I'm now the king of England and Scotland. There it goes. Beautiful. Glorious, as I like to say. And then I'm like, crap, we have to rush back up to stop these Northmen, get up there as fast as possible. But I don't quite make it in time, unfortunately. And one of the reasons for that is I've actually noticed a new faction of all the British lords plus the Wales, the Duchess of Wales, and the Duke of like Ulster there. So I'm like, crap, what am I gonna do with this now? It's all these more powerful vassals. I'm like, okay, let's put these guys in as powerful vassals. Maybe that will not, it'll calm them down a little bit, so they won't be pissed off. It ends up not doing enough. They're still there. There's only 7 months left, and they're going to declare war. They got 152% military power. So it's not looking too fantastic. I'm kind of getting nervous. I'm like, can I really do another war right now? My poor troops have been completely decimated with this English long atrocious war. Like I knew that was going to happen. I'm like, I got to do something. I'm looking at actually how do I get to tier 2, because I might want to revoke the titles of this nephew of mine, the Duke of Moray, who went to war with me. But we see what happens. So I get my troops to Durham. I raise the additional troops. The problem is they're sieging out St. Johnston. And by the time I get my additional troops raised, and I'm dealing with a little pop-up here with my cousin here, or my niece. She also has a claim on the throne. I realize she's got a claim on the throne. And I say, just go away. I don't want to deal with you. I march to St. Johnston, but they end up breaching the walls before I get there, and I get captured. So that's how the War of Iceland ended. And they damaged an artifact. They could have taken it. Whatever the banner was, if they took it. But yeah, we lost Iceland, and Iceland reverts back to an independent duchy. There it is, there, defeat. And our first defeat as Scotland, our first major defeat anyways, and Suderland there. So we can always get it back. It's not a huge stress case. Like I said, I knew that was a very, big possibility. And I made that decision. I said, I'm going to stick in England. I'm not going to go sail to Iceland to go fight them off. I'm just going to sit in England and finish this off. In retrospect, would I have done the same thing twice? Would I have stayed? I probably could have gone with my allies, beaten them, and sailed back. The issue also with that is the cost to go to sea would have cost me probably about 100 gold going there and coming back. I mean, I could have done it differently. I could have taken it, but I ended up making the decision to stay in England, and we're just going to have to do that. So now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to marry off some children to this new faction. There's two new dukes here. There's the Duke of Mercia and the Duke of Huys, I believe it is. And then that's the Duchess of Wales. I don't know what it's called. I don't remember what her duchess is called. And there's the Duke of Ulster there, and plus some other guy there. I think he's of Northumbria. I think that's the flag of Northumbria, but I'm not 100% sure. The guy at the very right there. So we end up marrying off a couple kids. End up marrying 2 children to both those English dukes. And it's a pop-up cave here. It's actually, I've never seen this pop-up before. It's an option to try and lower the discontent, and I end up taking it. I think it was tie something. I ended up trying to bribe them. We'll see. Yes, I do. I think I take that one there. Lose 50 discontent, but it's not enough. It lowers it. It lowers the discontent, but it's not enough to. It gives me a couple more months, and ends up making one alliance there, and that drops it. And I believe there was another one I made with this one. No, not that guy there. I do marry off another child. Must be a little bit further down though. Okay, so a new pop-up has come for another faction, dangerous faction, independence from the Liege. It is the Duke of Mercia and the Duchess of Gwynedd there. I don't know if I pronounced that right. The one that's in Wales there at the top. So I end up doing the same thing again and marrying one of my children to, looks like he's got a daughter. So I marry one of my sons, my younger son. I believe I picked the younger one. Yeah, the 7-year-old. So I pick them and they get them married, and that makes him out of that faction. I've just beat the Duchy of Moria's troops on the field, and I decide to march north right to the capital and siege it out. There it goes. Yeah, the faction is gone, so we're a little bit safe for now. There is now the ex-King of England. That's the ex-King of England. He is still the Duke there of East Seeks. I do not take over London. I don't take over any of those territories. That's a totally different kind of campaign. This was just for the kingdom title. So he still has London. Had a faith for gold. I end up taking it. I want the gold in the bank. Sure, why not? And as you'll see later on, for good reason, I'm happy I took it. Funds will bring me victory. Lovely. I'm looking, can I actually hide the Templars? No, I cannot. This should be the last, though, I believe, of the major wars. I think there's maybe one more major war in this episode, but as we go right for the capital of Moray. Okay, so the victory of Moray is done. We've captured the Duke himself, prisoner taken. Now, we enforced demands. Now it's time for us to decide what we're going to do with these people. They're both going to go in jail. Both the Count, and who I believe is my uncle maybe, and my nephew, who is the Duke of Moray. So let's go into prisoners and figure out what we're going to do with them. They're both still a threat, and I'm just deciding, like, he's got 4 counties, he's still strong. I want to revoke, but then I'm thinking if I revoke, the claims are still going to get passed down. So I want to release him and renounce claims, even though I prefer just to kill him, but the claims are going to go down. So I decide to banish and revoke, renounce claims. So he's got to renounce all those claims, and I have to banish him from the realm. But it turns out his daughter, that one there, she still gets the claim on the Kingdom of Scotland. I'm not 100% sure why, unless she already had it from before. Unless she's independent. I think that's what happened was. Now I'm thinking about it, because she's the heir there. I think she's an independent titled person, so she has her own claim on the Kingdom of Scotland, even though the fathers had it renounced. If she was unlanded, it would not go to her, but because she was landed somewhere else as a royal, it did transfer to her. I believe that's what the technicality is. We do have better, like I'm looking at it now, I'm like, why does she still have a claim? And I could see that's exactly why, because she is independently landed. And her husband is actually the Duke of Moray. And I'm just noticing that now after the fact. I'm like, what the heck is going on? Why does she have a claim? But I end up revoking or renouncing his claims, and it kind of works out. But I can see there's still a ton of people that have claims on Scotland. Like, it's such a mess. It's such a mess, the amount of claims of Scotland that's out there. So I go to him. This is the actual Duke. And we're going to end up renouncing or revoking his claims too. There it is there, renounce claims. And I banish him from the realm too. Just get out of here. Might as well just leave. And it does not transfer to his kids. It does not transfer to his kids though. And we'll see if he takes it, and he does. There it goes. No. There it goes. There it goes. Okay, so he's gone. Farewell. And yeah, so it's the claims are gone of his children. But there's still a ton of claims out there. And I'm just trying to figure out, yeah, she still has her claims. She still has her claims because she was independently landed out of, from her father. So she still has a claim. But the Duke is gone. That annoying uncle was gone. And now I start looking at calming England down and start looking at our options there. Okay, so it's been a couple years, and I'm really concerned about succession because on the election, the Duchy of Northumbria and the 2 counties that I own in Northumbria are going to revert to whomever wins the election in England, because it's de jure part of England. They're just going to take it. Since I control both, it's just going to be automatically transferred on Confederate partition. It's absolutely a terrible rule, but I'm stuck with it. So what am I going to do? I have a couple options. First of all, I'm trying to assassinate the the Duke of East Essex right now. The reason being is because he's the guy who's going to win the election. My son, I voted for my son to win the election of England, but he's not going to take it. He's in second place behind the Duke of East Essex, who was the previous king. So they want him back. He's Anglo-Saxon. That's who they want. So what I decided to do is I'm going to outsmart them all, and I'm going to create the Empire of Britannia. If I create the Empire, it's going to overarch both kingdoms. It's going to be irrelevant who wins the kingdom, even though I, of course, would rather my child does it, but it doesn't make a difference because as long as I'm the Emperor, that's the most important thing. Because my son, the heir, will become the Emperor of Britannia. That, for me, again, is the most important part of it. Even though I just fought for my family to become King of England. But we'll see how it goes. In the meantime, so what I decided to do is I look at the numbers. I'm only 2 behind. I'm 73 out of 75 for Britannia. So I decided to go for one of the territories, which is de jure claim in Wales. I've only got like 1 claim I can go for without having a casus belli. And I also need 1,000 gold. So I've got 600 gold. Like I said, I'm happy now I took the Pope up on his offer for gold. We end up ending the episode with roughly the same as what we are kind of now, about 650-ish. So we need, like I said, 1,000 to do it, plus 2 more territories. And this war with Wales right now is an absolute slog. It just ends up being such a long, tedious war because they just won't quit. They just won't quit for some reason. Like we end up getting their banner, I end up burning it because I don't want to pay the prestige cost for it, so I just burn it. It's for prestige back. But you can look at their troops. They have a ton of special troops. There are 3 silver star troops. We're only at 2 bronze there, with a lot of levies watering it down. But that's it. It's just a matter. It's just a very atrocious war trying to get these castles down, and their troops just won't stop. And that's it. So you can't switch. I'm looking at it now by switching to tribal, but I remember it's 500 we have to get. We actually did get quite a bit of artifacts from England. As you can see here, there's quite more in the room now. We got Excalibur. We got like that chest there, which has some like bones in it. So we got a few things from England in the last campaign, which I'll talk about again in the next episode. It was cut out for time purposes because of the nature of this recording. Okay, so the murder was successful. The Duke of East is dead. As you can see here, though, another Northman invasion. I'm like, geez, leave me alone. Like, I'm moaning. I'm moaning at the screen right now, saying like, when is the age of Northmen gonna be over? Like, it's 943 already. I think it's roughly around the year 1000 is when the age of the Crusades kind of starts. I'm kind of hoping for that. I call it all the allies for the Northman invasion again. And I say to myself, I will not make the same mistake twice. I know I want this one county in Wales for the purposes of the Empire, but I'm not going to sacrifice. I think they're coming for Strathclyde. The Duchy of Strathclyde is what they're coming for, I believe, as far as I remember. And it ends up this Duke here of Ulster ends up being a Satanist for some reason, but I can't arrest him. I don't know. It's annoying. It's like, whatever. But yeah, he's a Satanist. There you go. He's a witch. But I'm not going to make the same mistake again. So yeah, he's now the King of Ireland. All these guys are all joining the war defensively to go fight the Northman invasion again. And I'm trying to get this done. It seems to me, like, as I'm in this, I'm also like, keep in mind, I've already just fought in like 3 or 4 major wars. I'm like, man, like, enough is enough. I want to get this war. I thought it'd be a quick, easy war in Wales, but maybe it's because it's the terrain, whatever the reason is, they're super stubborn. They end up sieging down there. I'm like, do I want to pull guys off the main castle to go fight them? I'm like, not really. And this pop up here, I've got a rival for some reason, so I decided, okay, I could let him go, but I decided just to throw him in the dungeon. I'm not going to release him, but I'm very close. 4 months left for that siege. And then I realized as soon as I see them land, there they are there. We're going to have to go up and march. Okay, so here's the last siege. I'm looking at the counter. We're minus 30-ish with the Northern invasion. They actually got St. Johnston. I lost an artifact, to be honest, which was kind of upsetting to me. It was actually a blue-rated artifact, which I'm going to have to try and maybe steal back in the next episode. But I'm like, enough is enough. Okay, finally, I was watching it. If I got closer to 50, I would have just left Wales. We got that one county in Wales that we wanted, which was part of de jure England. And so only -1 now for the Empire Britannia plus the 1,000 gold. So that's all that's left. So I'm like looking at I'm counting the numbers there, looking at everything. I'm like, what could we get? We can get Leinster. Should I try and fab claim on that? I'm like having a little bit of a panic attack. Like, what do we do to quickly get this? I decided to pull him off converting, which is a mistake. I made a mistake here, and I shouldn't have done that, but it's 3 years to grab the fab claim. Ends up I didn't need it. I was like, should I get Cornwall or that the Southern Wales area? I ended up deciding to go for that Southern Wales area, which you will see I talk about a little bit later. Actually, I guess you won't see because the volume got all screwed. But we grab a Raiders. We also happened to be raided by 3 massive raiding teams at the time because, of course, they wait for you to go to war and they raid you. But I pull up with my men. The Northmen are still up in Scotland. I end up finally getting back up north, trying to get a little bit of troops back. It was super atrocious sitting in Wales. It was really, really bad. And I'm like, here, I'm deciding, like, will he take vassalage? No, they won't. The king, of course, won't vassalize. He's going to have to eventually, or I'm just going to conquer him as Britannia. And I catch the Northman army. They end up pulling ahead at the beginning. One of my knights was actually ripped to shreds, so that happened. But ended up, all my allies jump in, and we crush the Northman invasion again with all the Varangians and all their heavy Huscarls. Hopefully this is the last one. Like I said, it's 944 now. Hopefully it's coming to a close. Enforce demands and disband our troops. And there we go. So we've now only missing 1 territory for the Empire Britannia. We got Wales down to 1. It's going to end up being Dumbarton's there, whatever that county is at the bottom, that territory I should say. And now I'm just looking at gold. Now my number one otherwise concern is gold, because that area in Wales has nothing. They have only around roughly 800 men. I'm also noticing though, I'm going to lose this election again. Now my ally, my married by marriage ally, the Duke of West Mercia, is now the number one vote. And I'm thinking, what am I going to do with this? Should I write it out? Should I try and convince people to vote for my son? Should I murder him? I'm also getting nervous now what to do with this. Yeah, because you can see there, Northumbria and those counties are de jure England. They're going to revert to whoever confederates and wins the election in England. So I'm kind of super stressed about this. I'm figuring out how to get gold, how to get the Empire of Britannia as fast as possible. All right, so as we come to a close the episode, I spend a lot of time now going over a major fact that I have now 800 prestige, which is enough to remove the law, the elective law of England. So why am I thinking about this? Because look who's now the heir. It's going to be the Duke of Mercia. It's one thing if it was one of my sons, and I can kind of deal with that. But the fact that it's going to confederate an independent kingdom out to a foreigner who's related, he is related to me by marriage, but whatever. I can't wrap my head around this, and having to deal with fighting again for England. I'm like, no, we can't have that. So I have the money in the bank to bribe people, to make them perhaps like me. I can go that way, or I can save up like I really want to do and create the Empire of Britannia, and each son will get a kingdom. One king of Scotland, one king of England, right? So why can't I do that? So I'm looking now at the votes and who's going to get what, and I'm only down by 2. So like I said, I could take that 600, try and bribe and send gifts to people to get them to join my side of the election. But I'm like, I don't know if it's worth it. I just don't know long term if that's going to pay off. It's going to cost me all that gold. I'd rather take that gold and end up creating the empire. That's what I ended up deciding doing. And again, it was not an easy decision. Some of you might say it's wrong. Some of you might say, yes, you agree. And how it can help you later on. Like, I understand the benefits of having an elective title, because like if I have a bunch of sons on Confederate, I can just have each one get voted. You know, if I can go that way and have all my sons voted to all for the same son. If I have multiple kingdoms, all goes to the same son. But for 300 prestige, I can just disinherit the other son and everything will go to the first kid. You know what I mean? So I can kind of control it that way. So there are ways that I can control things. So for me, it wasn't worth keeping this law around. And I end up, spoiler alert, removing the law, which I'll do momentarily. But like I said, it just wasn't worth the headache of having to pay all this gold. There it goes, it's gone. Pay all this gold to bribe people and fight this new king of England for a separate independent king, when I can just keep it in my at least my son will get it, worst case scenario. Or I'm only one county away and 300 gold from creating the empire. Like, I'm right on the brink. So I decided to erase the law. He's going to get the Kingdom of England, the Duchy of Northumbria, those 2 counties that are in Northumbria. The other son is going to get Scotland and our original places. And yeah, so it's going to be a matter now of just saving up the 1,000 gold, which again, 300 gold is not much. It's going to take me a couple years. I'm earning 9.3. It's going to take me a couple years to get this gold. And just that one county left in southern Wales, and we have enough to get it. And that's done. So I'm happy with my decision. I'm sticking with it. So listen, again, guys, I'm sorry about the audio. It got all screwed up. The stupid NVIDIA card screwed everything up, but it's all should be fixed now for next episode. But some of you might be liking this chopped up version better. If you are, please let me know. I totally want to cater to what you guys like. So if you like this kind of shortened, chopped version of an episode, please let me know. If you like the longer one, also please let me know. Hope you guys liked it. Please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.